Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Is it Thursday? Yes, Thursday already. Dustin Schutte sitting in with us, man. Elton Hayes from CNNHI Penn State is going to join us as it's game week. Dustin Schutte, it's almost here, man. We are just 2 days away from Big Ten football.
Yeah, we had to wait about a little over a month since the announcement came back to get football back in our lives, Big Ten football. And now we're just one more sleep away, one more night, and we've got Illinois and Wisconsin in a loaded 6-game slate on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interesting matchups for week one. So let's go. I'm ready to go. I'm fired up.
I am as well. We'll hear from Tom Allen and Michael Penix today, Indiana's quarterback. We heard from Coach Franklin of Penn State yesterday. And the one thing that is apparent, Indiana has Penn State's complete respect. And I don't mean that in the joking manner. I mean it for real. They know, Penn State knows they have to come to Bloomington and they have to play. We saw what happened last year in Happy Valley. So Indiana's got more talent back than Penn State does on paper. But Penn State obviously is not devoid of talent, certainly not there. But it's going to be, I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic game.
Yeah, and it evened out a little bit, too, this week when you get the news that their starting running back, Journey Brown, is going to be out for the season. So that's, you hate to see that because he's such a good player. He's such a young kid, and he was so explosive last season. But, that levels the playing field for Indiana a little bit. That's one less guy, that one less home run hitter on Penn State's roster. So I think that helps Indiana out, although Penn State's running back room is still really loaded with Noah Cain, Devin Ford, and Keziah Holmes. So it's going to be tough, but Penn State's now lost one of their better offensive players in Journey Brown, and then their best defensive player, linebacker Micah Parsons, opt out. So in addition to Indiana having all that talent come back, two of Penn State's better players aren't going to be playing this weekend. So, we've talked about quite a bit, and I know you've talked about it a lot, that it's time that Indiana gets one of these big name programs, and they're going to have a great shot to do that right out of the gate this year. Yeah.
And not only that, both teams have a new offensive coordinator, but there's one thing different. Indiana has not changed their offense at all. It has just been moving right along with what you have. At Penn State, you brought in an offensive coordinator from Minnesota, and I think there's a different offense that is being implemented. You did not have spring practice. You did not have practice many times at all. So they are at a disadvantage in that area for certain.
Yeah, I would think so too. The one thing I would say is that what we learned from Kirk Shiraka at Minnesota last year was that the offense is kind of simplistic. So the fact that they have so many returning starters and that they have Sean Clifford, who is a second-year quarterback now, I think that offense is going to be there. It's something you can learn pretty quickly. They'll probably use the slant route quite a bit. They've got a lot of, like I said, they've got a loaded backfield, even with Journey Brown gone. So I think that they'll be okay. But you're right, you might see some hiccups early in that game, especially through the first 30 minutes. And I think that's where Indiana really needs to take advantage, because these guys are going to be playing. Some of these guys are going to be playing on the field for the first time, and especially it's going to be the first time they've played together in a long time. So I think Indiana, if they can jump out early, get a few scores on the board, kind of set the tone, then I think that they'll be in great shape. We've seen the first 5 or 6 weeks of college football, whether it's the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, tackling has been a huge issue. So Indiana's also got to make sure that they come out and they wrap guys up, kick guys to the turf, because last year, the opener against Ball State, they did a terrible job of doing that, and it really hurt them early in the season. So I think Indiana does have the advantage in terms of offensive coordinator, but it's going to be an interesting matchup, but Hoosiers got to jump out early, I think.
No doubt. We'll talk more about Indiana and Penn State is coming up. Elton Hayes is going to join us. He is from CNHI and Penn State, so we'll get their perspective. But keeping it on in Penn State, actually, moving on news, Pat Chambers, their basketball coach, resigns yesterday. You don't resign weeks away from the opening of college basketball. Obviously, there is an internal investigation that's been going on. I know that there has been one documented instance in which he used the phrase a noose. Talked about putting a noose around a player, and as a probably in practice. I think what he was thinking, it was a motivational type of thing, I guess. Anyway, that is, I think, where this started. There's been an internal investigation. Probably there apparently has been more stuff, I guess. Haven't heard anything, but it's not good for Penn State, I guess, as you head into the basketball season, just weeks away from opening up. And, man, you just lost a coach. But in actuality, they probably needed to do this. His record, he's been there for 9 years. He's 2 games under 500. He makes $900,000. Penn State is one of the biggest schools in the Big Ten. They got more money than God. Why are they not having the fact that they don't have a basketball program, that's on them. When you got a basketball coach, you're paying $900,000 in the Big Ten, you're getting what you're paying for.
Yeah, and it's, last year they had the big season, and it was kind of disappointing because you wanted to see what they could do in the NCAA tournament. But, the interesting thing to me about this whole Patrick Chambers situation is it didn't seem like earlier in the week or late last week when he was talking to some of the reporters up there that he thought that anything was going to happen or there was no investigation at the time. Obviously, we don't really know the situation, but you think back to, I don't know if it was over the summer, if it was last spring or when it was, but, Rasir Bolton, who now is playing at Iowa State, kind of came out with those accusations against Pat Chambers, and some of his current players, including Lamar Stevens, kind of spoke up and defended Pat Chambers. So, obviously one player's experience is not another player's experience. You can't dismiss what he may have done in the past or how he treated other players. But it's going to be interesting, I think, to see, what kind of support or what kind of backlash comes out of this, because Pat Chambers was getting some support from some of his current and former players when the first allegations came out. And like I said, I think it was probably May or June, but yeah, it's the one thing you say about this is it's hard to go through a coaching change this close to the start of the season. So whether or not you think Pat Chambers was the guy, that's probably a different question. But when you lose a head coach and somebody that's been there for a decade, I'm guessing Penn State's basketball program is going to feel the effects this season because of all the turmoil going on.
I would imagine it's going to be a kind of a bad season for them. I don't even know if they have coming back. I have no idea what they have. I have not looked at them yet. But knowing that they normally don't have a lot, and now, like you just said, losing their head coach, you got to go to an interim guy. There's just all now. It may be better for them actually, because if there is a problem, if there's something going on there, then you got rid of it. Not saying it was his fault or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, you got rid of part of whatever that problem is, and so maybe it makes it better for them. But man, Penn State they need to go hire a coach, man. You can't have they got the money. What are you waiting on? Not that I want them to. It's just the Big Ten is tough enough. We don't need another daggone giant jumping into the fray. And talking about basketball, we saw yesterday Kentucky got a couple of guys that were granted eligibility. Obi Toppin's brother, one of them. They're still waiting to hear. Bryce Hopkins is going to make his determination where he's going. Is he going to go there and create kind of an all-star type of thing, or a lot of talk about Illinois, man. Illinois is already loaded and good, and if he's looking at them, that Illinois is already a team that we're looking at as a potential Big Ten champion and a national championship contender. So you add a Bryce Hopkins to that mix, that puts them over the top. To me, if he goes there, that puts them as better ahead of Kentucky. But if he goes to Kentucky, obviously Kentucky would be ahead of Illinois. But that Bryce Hopkins, that's gonna turn somebody's fortunes big time.
Yeah, and already the Big Ten is just absolutely loaded top to bottom. You could talk about Iowa winning, you could talk about Illinois winning. Indiana should be a lot better. Obviously, Michigan State's better. They're always good year in, year out. Michigan. Wisconsin. So you could just go top to bottom from the Big Ten, and it's already loaded. So if you throw another piece in there, like a Bryce Hopkins, to a place like Illinois, I think you're right. I think that makes them the favorite, not just to win the Big Ten, but then that puts them in the driver's seat to potentially get to the Final Four and potentially win a national championship. I know we talked to Andy Katz a few weeks ago about the Big Ten kind of coming close, but not getting over that hurdle over the last 20 years. The Big Ten hasn't won a national championship in so long. It's going to be really intriguing to see if the brutality of the Big Ten schedule this year, how teams are really ready to perform come tournament time, is that going to prepare them, or is the just because it's so deep, come the NCAA tournament, are these teams just going to be so worn down? Because we've talked about, it's going to be a bloodbath this year. Like you thought last year was competitive, this year's going to be even more competitive.
That should be on a T-shirt. Brutality of Big Ten basketball, because that is a fact. It is going to be. The brutality is going to impose its will this season, I think, with all the beast. It's going to be like a WWE match every game. It's just going to be fun. I am truly looking forward. I hope we get through it. I'm grateful we've gotten through most of the football season so far. Big Ten is just now getting ready to start. With that said, though, Jeff Brom not allowed to coach his Purdue Boilermakers against Iowa this Saturday, and that does not bode well for Purdue because they've sucked in openers as it is under Jeff Brom.
Yeah, they have not won a home opening game. They've lost to Louisville, Northwestern, and Nevada under Jeff Brom. So, you look at that and you say, hey, maybe without him, maybe they'll finally get over the hump. But, that's a tough situation. I know Purdue right now is in the process of appealing. They know he can't be on the sideline, but they're going to try to get him communication to the coach's box. I suspect that that's going to be denied. I don't know how that's going to work, but it will set the tone for future coaches. And if anybody else tests positive for COVID-19, what they rule for Jeff Brom is how they're going to rule for the rest of the coaches in the Big Ten, or at least you think so. So it's going to be interesting to see what that decision is and how that has an impact. But it just goes to show that this is a topsy-turvy kind of year, and there are no guarantees. You're probably going to see players have to sit out games. You're probably going to have to see coaches sit out games. You're probably going to see some games postponed or canceled. We can cross our fingers and toes and hope that doesn't happen. But, you have a first positive test just a few days before the first week, and it's dear. It costs Purdue dearly because their play. Not only is Jeff Brom the head coach, he's the play caller, and now you throw in Brian Brom, who said he's never called a play in a game before. So there's going to be some, he's been thrown into the fire. So there's going to be some confusion, I suspect, from Purdue in that opener. But if they open the lines of communication and Brom is able to talk with the coach's box, that could change the game just a little bit, at least in terms of what the play calling looks like and how Purdue looks coming out against Iowa, a really good Iowa team this year.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, they've had trouble in openers, but this is different for everybody. Indiana, of course, they're opening up with Penn State, normally not Eastern Illinois, not a Ball State. So it's the whole different scenario. It's kind of like it was just a couple of years ago, though. Indiana opened up with Ohio State on a Thursday night in front of a national TV audience. They're going to have a national TV audience Saturday, a 3:30 time slot, Fox Sports 1. Great spot to be in. And this is your time to deliver. Not only winning this game is helpful for the program, but think about recruiting. Winning that game on Fox Sports 1 at 3:30 in the afternoon against Penn State, who is not down, who's in the top 10. Bingo, baby.
Yeah, it's huge. And Tom Allen's already done a great job recruiting, even without having that signature win. So imagine what it does, how much it catapults them if they do get this victory. And, we've talked about they've got all the pieces to do it. It's time. They could have done it last year. They could have beat Michigan for the past couple of years. They've been competitive with Michigan. I know the game got out of hand last year, but they have their chances to get this done and finish in the top 2, top 3 of the Big Ten East. And you get that national audience. Teams or networks are starting to say, hey, Indiana's for real. Tom Allen's doing some good work here. And it's time that they get this kind of victory. And you're right. You head into the 2021 season with a win like that, your recruiting is going to explode if you're able to get this win on week 1 on Saturday, because that sets up not only that, you get all that confidence going forward. You still got Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin on the schedule. You can round out some really nice wins and finish with a really strong record this season if you get this win on week 1 against Penn State.
Absolutely. LSU, some penalties like we said, but we've got to jump ahead and hit a break because Elton Hayes is going to join us when we come back from Penn State, get a Penn State perspective on things up there. So looking forward to that. Can't wait. It's game week, baby. And Dustin Schutte sitting in with us, Jim Coyle. We're Indiana Sports Beat. We're back with more from hole number 5 at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday of game week. And now we are joined by Sir Elton Hayes from CNNHI in Penn State. Elton, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Jim. It's been a while since I've seen your face. It's good to see you this morning, man.
That's the one good thing about Zoom is you're seeing a lot more people.
Exactly. It makes it more personal.
It's a lot more fun. I got to be honest. It's a lot more fun doing it this way. I really enjoy it. But appreciate you joining us, Dustin Shooty, City and Wells from Saturday Tradition. And it's game week, man. Penn State and Indiana.
It is. We made it. We made it.
Unbelievably. But don't jinx it, Elton. We got 2 days to get to it, man.
Look, we started. We'll see if we finish. But I'm feeling pretty confident about the measures that are in place. And, we'll see what happens. As we know, the virus kind of dictates everything moving forward. But it sounds like the teams involved in the Big Ten are doing everything in their control to kind of prevent the spread and limit it within their respective bubbles.
And the one thing I haven't thought of, because I saw it mentioned yesterday, but travel. Now these guys are traveling for the first time because it was mentioned about Penn State traveling. But I'm like, really, it should not be an issue because everything seems pretty contained. You're in the plane and then you're in the hotel. Everything is pretty bubbleized. So I think that it's probably going to be pretty safe. And especially with all the teams, like you said, all the protocols put in place, man, everywhere. I think we're good, but we'll see, right?
We'll knock on wood.
I'm just jinxing it already. Where's some wood I'm looking for?
Find some wood that I'll knock on the wooden table here in front of me for you.
Absolutely. Dustin, you and Elton know each other as well. Bring Dustin in here. But, man, this is going to be An absolutely fun game, I think. We talked about some of the things that Penn State's with the new offensive coordinator not really being able to implement that offense because not having the normal spring practice. You all missed a lot of practices. There's a disadvantage there. Indiana also has a new offensive coordinator, but there's not been really any change there. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Definitely. Yeah, it was interesting to see Indiana turned in-house to Nick Sheridan to replace Kalen DeBoer, tight ends coach in Indiana, former quarterback at Michigan. So I guess if there's a guy you feel comfortable with handing the reins over, it would be a guy of Sheridan's caliber. But yeah, Kirk Ciarrocca was hired in December from Minnesota, where he had a phenomenal 2019 with those Golden Gophers offense. Speaking to him over the spring, it was interesting. He wasn't able to really work on the field with the Penn State offense. So they did a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of quizzes, which I thought was interesting, kind of put on his teacher's cap, did a lot of quizzes. And one of the things quarterback Sean Clifford, who's entering his second year as Penn State starting quarterback, said to us a couple days ago was that he's a guy who does – Clifford, that is a guy who takes a lot of mental reps in his head. So whereas he wasn't able to be on the field going through those plays, going through his footwork, visualizing the routes from receivers, he was able to do that in his head. He said he's probably taken more mental reps in his head now than he has at any point of his career.
Yeah, and Elton, we learned yesterday about the status of Journey Brown, who's going to be, out for the season, which is unfortunate. He was considered to be one of the best running backs in the Big Ten, but now you look at Penn State's running back room, and it looked like, hey, you've got so many talented guys. How are they going to get carries? Is there going to be a number one? Is Noah Cain going to be that number one guy, or is this now going to be running back by committee for the Nittany Lions this season?
Well, Noah Cain has been listed as the number one on the depth chart heading into Indiana. He's a guy, as a freshman last year, who, played extensively until he was injured. Actually, it was in his first career start at Michigan State. He got injured early in that game. But he's a guy who Penn State has really been high on since he arrived on campus last year. James Franklin had mentioned, heading into the season that he's a guy who seems to always fall forward after getting contact. So I think the offense, that running back room, is in good hands while Journey's dealing with that undisclosed medical issue. And it's just such an unfortunate, circumstance for Journey. He's a charismatic guy, a guy who's always seems to be happy to be there. Really was looking forward. He said he was really looking forward a couple weeks ago when we talked to him during Penn State Media Days as a redshirt junior to not only being the, number one guy, leading that young running back group on the field, but being that guy just off the field, being that veteran. He said he had a lot of Noah Cain, Devin Ford, who's another sophomore, the two freshman running backs in Keziah Holmes and Kevon Lee. These guys were texting him over the summer, kind of looking up to him as, the older guy in the room now. And he was, looking forward to learning, answering their questions and just being that leader on and off the field. So losing a guy of that caliber, talent-wise and then leadership-wise, definitely hurts Penn State. But to answer your question, without going in a roundabout way, Noah Cain is definitely a capable replacement.
Oh, definitely. That's the one thing about Penn State is you don't have to worry about any place. They have a capable replacement on down the line, probably three deep. That is an advantage they have over and have had for a long time, many teams, over an Indiana team. Indiana has gotten deeper. They've gotten more solidified, got a lot of people back, like 19 starters. Yeah. And that has been something they haven't had a lot of. But a lot of this is in the skill position too. So I think Penn State is in for a defensive battle, not a defensive battle, but a battle defensively against this team because we know what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, well, we saw it last year. Indiana's passing offense ranked second in the Big Ten at the end of the year. High scoring offense, total offense, I believe was either third or fourth in the conference. And last year when Indiana came to Penn State, which Penn State won that game by 7 points, Peyton Ramsey, who was starting in place of Michael Penix Jr., who'll start on Saturday, threw for 371 yards. And that was without Whop Philyor. He went out injured, and Ty Freifogel stepped in, I believe, had 131 yards receiving and a touchdown in Fillier's place. Having a guy like Fillier back on the field and Ty Freifogel with a quarterback such as Penix, who brings that dual threat element, will be very interesting to see how Penn State secondary, which replaces starting cornerback John Reed, will be interesting to see how they handle that passing attack from Indiana.
And Dustin, I love having you in here because not that Elton's he's unbiased, I'm unbiased, but we cover those particular places, so that's what you know better. You're in the middle, man. You got it all going. So I'm really looking forward to your perspective on this. I think that this, and I've said it, I've gone on record, and of course I'm going to say that, but I think this is the season that Indiana finally excises that monkey off their back, and they get that win. They start with Penn State. I think they have to because. But this is a game that you can win, that is an opportunity, and they are capable and more than capable of winning the game. So I think it's at home. You need to win the game.
Yeah, and I think the best time to catch one of those big-time contenders is in week one, and that's just in my opinion, because typically, you see some of these teams are working out some of the kinks, and I know Penn State returns a lot, but they've also got some of those key pieces that are gone. We talked about Journey Brown, you talk about Micah Parsons is gone, as Elton mentioned, John Reed, and some of those guys that they had that were such key players last season are gone. And Indiana, a lot for the most part returns a lot of those guys. They've got Michael Penix back. They've got two really good running backs in Stevie Scott and Samson James. And, it's a very equally balanced matchup, if you ask me. So this is as good a time for Indiana to beat a team like Penn State as I think they've had, even though they played Penn State so well last season. But one question I did want to ask you, Elton, is because you are a little bit closer and you've gotten to have these conversations. One of the things we've seen through the first 5 or 6 weeks of the college football season is just a lack of tackling. We've seen, we saw Ole Miss and Alabama. That game was in the 60s. What is the sense of how well Penn State has been tackling? What's the mindset there? How does James Franklin, how comfortable is that staff with Penn State's ability to tackle? Because we could end up with a shootout here because of just all the time between spring practice and now fall camp. That's been a real issue for a lot of teams so far this college football season.
No, that's a good question, Dustin, and that's definitely something that we have seen through the first month of the college football season from the teams that are playing. But that's a question that was asked of Coach Franklin, a few weeks ago. Hey, you all are starting in Big Ten play with against top tier competition. How are you going to prepare your defense without having hit anyone, having played a game since December? And one point that he brought up that was interesting is he said that, in his opinion, and the teams that he's been around, live tackling really has kind of been scaled back, in practices as to preserve players from being injured or tweaking something. And, you just want to kind of save those hits for the season. But so I imagine, what they're doing is kind of a little bit of a lighter walkthrough than, what some other programs might be doing. But it will be interesting to see when they actually do get on the field on Saturday, how much that impacts, Penn State's defense and Indiana's defense without having that long time off in between playing an actual game and even having a spring game where you would hit someone.
Yeah, I think Indiana's defense is going to be at a disadvantage as well. Not as much as Penn State, though, I think, because Indiana's offense is intact, like I said. So that familiarity already there. It's easy to go out to the park. Hey, Mike, let's go out to the park. You can grab some. I'm not saying that they did that, but, it's easy to do that. I mean, when I was in high school, we did that. You weren't supposed to be practicing, unapproved practices, whatever it was. Everybody did it. You go out there. But since there already that familiarity's there, hasn't been that change. The offense hasn't changed, that continuity. But Indiana has to take advantage of that advantage. And if they don't, they're not going to win the game because Penn State is a team that they're mentally, to me, they're set every time. They don't make those kind of mistakes. They are confident. They're Ohio State, Michigan, those teams, they're confident because of years of being successful, and success breeds success. Indiana's just got to break that chain.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, this is the year to do it. Things have been far from normal. Penn State's brought in 4 new coaches, so that Penn State has to consider is playing as a field, in practice, full in practice timing with the players. Another thing that's going to be very interesting too is playing these games this season without fans in the stands. That kind of also, levels the playing field a lot for teams playing.
It does for Indiana against a lot of teams because it's got. I mean, I hate to say this, but there's going to be no effect against like a Penn State team. But I know that I think that there are. It's approved that they can use crowd noise.
Yes.
My question is, a place like Michigan, are they going to crank in crowd noise that equals 110,000 people? If so, geez, they're the advantage back to those guys. Penn State, same thing. Penn State, Ohio State with those stadiums of 100,000 plus. Indiana doesn't have that, and not even close. But I don't know how they're going to do that. Are they regulating what you can do with the crowd noise?
From what I've read, they are regulating it to certain decibel levels.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think just to chime in, I think that the set was the Big Ten provided these tracks of fan noise that they could pump in, and I think the level is 70 decibels. I believe I have that right. It's something like that.
So it's equal across the board. But now you have to ask: Are there regulations where it can't be played at certain times, like when the opponent's team is on offense only, and you're cranking that up down there, and then when you're on offense, it's dead quiet? Are there protocols on what you can, when you can play crowd noise, or how you can do it?
From what I read, they are allowing them to crank it up during during breaks, halftime, for whatever reason. There's nobody going to be there, so whatever. But during certain points of the game, they can crank it up. But I think it's going to be pretty much standard. You can't have the marching band play when a play is going on, so they won't be able to play it during the middle of a play. But I think before and after plays, I think it's going to be just fine. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure there's going to be some glitches and some hiccups just because it's going to be such a unique aspect. But that's my understanding, that they do at least have some, widespread plan in place for the decibel levels for those that pumped in crowd noise.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be exciting. But I'm just looking forward to Big Ten football after watching all these other leagues gearing up. And boy, oh boy, the Big Ten is just good. So looking excited to that. Now the national title race, the picture there. The Big Ten is getting a later start. They have no margin for error. We've seen some of these other leagues they miss the week. Man, the Big Ten does not have that. And that's going to be, we talked about, you mentioned that we got here, but now we got 2 more months of staying here. So hopefully we can do that. But man, there's no margin for error for the Big Ten.
There really isn't. And that's why it's so important that, these programs, these towns, everyone kind of plays their role in doing their part to prevent the spread. Penn State yesterday released its latest COVID-19 testing numbers for its student athletes, and just one athlete tested positive. During our press conference with Coach Franklin last night, someone asked him if, what does that say about the job that you are doing, about the progress that you've made? And he said, hey, I don't want to get too comfortable. I don't want to get comfortable with the virus. He said, the moment we do that, the moment we start to get a little lax, we start to let things ease, and something can happen. So I do know, and speaking with him yesterday, he said while Penn State's numbers the last few weeks the athletic department's numbers the last few weeks have gone down, he said that doesn't mean that it's time to take the foot off the gas pedal. If anything, it's time to just double down and remain even more vigilant in keeping that the way it is.
I am in total agreement. But so as we're heading towards Big Ten football this weekend, what are your thoughts on the outcome of the game? What do you think is going to be the end result?
I think, the last 2 years, these games have been decided by 12 points. Penn State won by 7 points last year in State College. Penn State won 2 years ago by 5 points down in Bloomington. I think we're going to see a lot more offense. I think we are. I think that kind of favors Penn State right now. So I'm going to say Penn State wins by 3 points.
That's been a consensus I've seen a lot of. We've got, I know Alec Lasley at thehoosier.com is putting together a prediction deal, and I've seen a lot of 3-point swings either way. And that's probably the actuality. I went out on a limb, and I went a higher score. I went 42-34, just because I'm wondering, are we going to see that offense get rolling because of the early defensive problems?
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll be looking forward to it. Man, it's great to see you again. So much happy for you to join us. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it, brother. I can't wait to do it again.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dustin. You guys be safe.
Appreciate you too, man. We'll talk again soon. Sir Elton Hayes joining us from CNNHI Penn State. We got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat coming to you from hole number 6 at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with that right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Hey, this is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you'll find complete coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, as well as coverage of the Big Ten. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also catch Indiana Sports Beat Radio there each day at your convenience, or you can find it any place you podcast or on this station each weekday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
No matter where you are in life, here's a question to consider. Do you have the right financial advisor to help you navigate where you want to go? An Ameriprise advisor will take the time to truly understand what's important to you and help you prepare for whatever life brings, both the expected and the unexpected, by providing personalized advice based on your goals and needs, and regular reviews along with digital tools to help you stay on track. With an Ameriprise advisor, you can feel more confident, connected, and in control of your financial life. Call Dennis Schneider, Heath Schneider, or Nick Davis with Schneider & Associates, a private wealth advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Call 877-827-1404. That's 877-827-1404. See Dennis Schneider at 236 North Elm Street in Henderson and Heath Schneider or Nick Davis at 20 East Campground Road in Evansville. Ameriprise Financial Services, LLC. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Sally, take my hand. We'll travel south across land.
Welcome back to hole number 6 of the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coming to you as Indiana Sports Beat. Dustin Schutte sitting in with me, and Sir Elton Hayes. He was with us in the last segment from CNNHI Penn State, and thanked him. We got off, and as I was getting off, I was like, just did myself in the head. I'm like, oh my God, Pat Chambers. So I thank goodness Elton stayed with us through the break, and thank goodness you did, Elton. But Pat Chambers, big story yesterday, resigning from Penn State. Shocker to us outside. I'm going to assume you guys knew what was going on, that was happening, because it seemed like it was a little deeper than what most of us thought.
Yes. Well, in July, Jesse Washington from the Undefeated collaborated with former Penn State player Rasir Bolton, who's now at Iowa State, to kind of explain why Bolton transferred. It was learned that in 2019, Pat Chambers had mentioned a comment to him. I guess he thought Bolton was playing a little too tight on the court. He said, I want to be a stress reliever for you. I want you to play more relaxed. I want you to loosen that noose around your neck. Bolton's black. I don't think any explanation is needed for why that comment would be insensitive. But that kind of sparked a investigation by Penn State officials. We found out yesterday, Sandy Barber, the athletic director, told us that as a result of the investigation, she and President Eric Barron learned of a new allegation about Chambers. And he resigned yesterday evening. So I was kind of surprised. I thought if he was going to resign as a result of that report that came out in July, it would be maybe right after. But I guess the investigation uncovered this new allegation, and that was enough to speed things up and get Chambers his resignation.
Well, I appreciate you staying on to help us clear that up for us and finalize that. And now, as I let you go, me and Dustin, I'm going to get really mad because people like Will Wade still have a job in college basketball, and I cannot imagine that. But thank you so much for sticking around to give us that information. We appreciate you. And we look forward to basketball season coming around and having you back on.
Definitely. We've got a lot to talk about.
Elton Hayes joining us from CNNHI and Penn State. Appreciate you, man.
No problem, bud. You take care.
You betcha. Appreciate him. Dustin mentioned there, that is the thing that really aggravates me about college basketball. You got people like Will Wade who are still employed, who are still drawing a paycheck, and who are still recruiting kids. I just saw yesterday, and they just landed somebody, and I'm like, what the hell? What do you got to do? I mean, it's like there's you don't lose. You're on tape, and a dude can't lose his job.
Right. That whole situation has never made sense to me, because then you had a booster, and I'm going to plead a little ignorance here because I don't know the full situation, the full story, but you also had a booster who was embezzling money from a hospital, I believe it was, and donating that money to LSU's athletic department. And it's something along that. I'd have to go in and read the literature on it again, but I don't know. LSU comes out and self-imposes these
football penalties.
These penalties for the football team, a reduction in scholarships and all this and that, but there's going to be some sort of massive deal that happens with LSU athletics. And I don't, to me, go back to whatever year that was, 2011, 2012, when Ohio State had Tattoo Gate, and you look at how that was minor in comparison to what's going on at LSU, both in football and in basketball.
Indiana's entire basketball program was destroyed over text messages.
Yep,
that was made legal the next year.
Yep. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. So of course there's going to be frustration, and it all goes back. The thing goes back to Mark Emmert, who was the former athletic director at LSU. And so you always wonder,
I did not realize that.
So,
Lord, Muppet Mark. Oh my God.
Yeah. Doesn't that throw a little wrench into the plans there? Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's always that connection there as to why it always seems like, now I'm not going to say it always works out that way, but it always seems like the SEC and some of those schools get the benefit of the doubt. But in this situation with LSU, I don't know how Will Wade has a job. I don't know how there's not a postseason ban. We don't know enough about the football. That hasn't been investigated, but the basketball stuff is out there. And it's been out there for a couple of years.
And how fast was this self-imposing of these penalties? That I've never seen anything been done that fast ever in the history of college athletics.
It was less than a year after they won the national championship. And it just speaks to me, that's a big red flag, because LSU is basically saying, we're jumping out in front of this so the NCAA doesn't further impose any other violations or repercussions or anything like that. So it's fascinating. If this was any other program, I think that you would have at least a 1-year postseason ban and a reduction of scholarships. And I don't know enough about the football thing to know that you would get a head coach fired, but there would be some serious consequences. And right now, that would be gone. That would be scrubbed from the record books. So, those are some of the things that to look forward to, or not look forward to, but look at in the future. Because it could have serious ramifications. And it's now, to me, when you have this happen in the football program and the basketball program, you have to look at the entire athletic department, because obviously there's some shady business going on right now.
Yep, I didn't want to get off on that tangent, but boy, when we started talking about that, I'm like, gosh, it's blowing my mind. Let's get back to Indiana made an offer. We got some clips I want to hear some sound of. We get to, but Indiana made an offer on the basketball side to one of the hottest names out there right now. I think ranked number 83 in the country. I forgot his name. I was jumping back and forth, but they've got a lot of offers out there, and you got Trey Kaufman, whose commitment is coming next Friday. So that is going to tell a lot about it, where Indiana basketball is going. Tyler Nickel is another offer that is out there for the Hoosiers. So we'll see how that goes. But next Friday is going to be big time for Indiana. So we'll have a lot. Well, actually, no, it'll be the day after. So we won't get to talk about it next week either. But looking forward to that. But we had Tom Allen talking about this weekend, and Michael Penix, but we'll hear from Tom first as he readies for this battle with Penn State. And I've said it many times. I saw Rick Bozich from Fox 41 in Louisville wrote pretty much an article saying the exact same thing. And it's just two words. It's time. I mean, that's in my mind. That's the two words I keep saying over and over. It's time. It's just simply time. And let's hear what Coach Allen has to say.
Game plan.
Well, first of all, we tried throughout the course of, all of our practices to have a lot of situations where Nick called the plays. We didn't script a lot. We had a whole allotment of things that we were working on those certain periods, but I wanted him and he wanted the opportunity just to be able to do that as much as possible. We had our 2 preseason scrimmages as well as a mock game that we worked through situations with and tried to do as many situations where I wouldn't tell him what was going to be happening in a certain, set of circumstances, just kind of, pop it on him during practice and be able to react to that, so just to try and create those, preseason type game situations that you can for both the staff as well as your players, but at the end of the day, it's the first official game. So you really can never simulate it equally, totally like it's going to be on game day. And so that's just part of, why it makes the first game such an exciting game and so much nerves going into it, so much energy going into it, so much anticipation going into it, because honestly, nobody knows what's going to happen. And that's why you play the game. And we always say that. And that's why I'm excited. I just feel like that our guys, I know they've worked hard. I know they're going to be very well prepared. I know they're hungry. I know they're excited, and so is Penn State. I mean, it's both teams' first game of the year, and it's been such a long wait for everybody to finally get a chance to play. So they're going to play really hard, and we're going to play really hard.
There's Coach Tom Allen, and he's hitting it right on the head. I mean, it's exciting. It's the unknown. They've got some advantages, but it's the first game, and it's just I can't wait till they throw the ball up. I mean, it's just – I know it's a different type of scenario there, but it's just going to be let's get it on.
Well, I think what's going to be interesting is we talk about football being a game of inches, and I think what's going to be really important is Tom Allen said this. Nick Sheridan cannot outthink himself. He can't think too much about this. Just get the ball in the hands of your playmakers, let Michael Penix do what he's good at. I think Kalen DeBoer did a really good job. I know they were kind of adjusting early in the season, but he did a really good job of knowing what his players' skill set was. And the benefit for Nick Sheridan is he's had most of these players in the offense for, a year or two. So he should know what the strengths are. He should know what's going to work, what's not going to work. I think you want to, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Obviously, you're going to have to probably take a shot here or two or run a trick play here or there to catch Penn State off guard. That could work. But don't go too much outside of this mold that Kalen DeBoer left for you, because you know what the players are good at. You know what those guys can do for you. So I think if he keeps it simple and just runs the offense, works within what those guys have, I think that's going to help Indiana tremendously. He doesn't need to get too fancy this weekend, even though it's his first time calling the offense for Indiana.
Yeah, and I wonder, because a lot of offensive coordinators do this, some of them will script the first 10, 20 plays of a game. Yep. I've never understood that, because every situation is different, and I never want to be pinned down to something. But I know that is popular with some guys to do that. I wonder in this situation if there's going to be some scripting or if he's just going to go in it just wide-eyed.
Yeah, I would suspect that they want to go in with some script. Maybe it's not 10 plays. Maybe it's, 5 or 6, or maybe it's just the first set of downs or whatever the case might be, or this is what we're going to run on our first third down, or this is what we're going to run, if we get into a 4th and short or whatever the case might be. I would, like I said, because he's so new, I think that they're going to have some sort of script, but, on the second play of the game, that could go out the window. He may throw that, crumble that sheet up and throw it into the garbage can, because so much can change. If Michael Penix gets sacked on the first play of the game, that's obviously going to change what you're going to call on second down. If Michael Penix hits a 30-yard a pass to Whop Phillier, that's going to change how you call the game. So I think there'll be some sort of script, but by play 2 or 3, it may be out the window, in the garbage can, whatever you want to say, because there's just so many uncertainties and you don't know what's going to happen on that first play or those first, that first set of downs.
Well, you mentioned Michael Penix. That's the man of the hour, because this is the game that 2 years ago, I think, that he went down with that injury first, I believe, was with his knee injury. And he didn't get to, I don't think he got to play. He didn't get to play against his team last year. Great game with Peyton Ramsey at quarterback, but they have not seen really Michael Penix. They have not had to play against him yet. They don't know. They can look how strong that arm is, but dude's got a cannon. And so it's going to be something different for them. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they use him. We know that they don't want him out and running. You got to keep him safe. I mean, keeping Michael Penix safe is the ultimate thing of this entire season. You got a quality backup of Jack Tuttle, but that is not where this Indiana team can go in order to have the season that they're looking to have.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, like, if you've seen Hoosiers and Coach Norman Dale tells one of the players, I can't remember who it is, strap maybe, if you only shoot the ball if you're wide open underneath the basket, nobody's around you. I imagine that's what Tom Allen's telling Michael Penix. Don't run unless there's no defenders within 10 yards of you. And as soon as you see somebody start heading in your direction, slide down or get out. Yeah, slide or get out of bounds, one of the two. Because you're right. When you had Peyton, not that you ever wanted Michael Penix, obviously, to get hurt, but you had Peyton Ramsey. So you had experience. You had a guy who could move the offense, move the chains, and get the ball in the end zone. And maybe Jack Tuttle can do that, but you really don't know. He didn't get many reps this offseason. He hasn't played much in a game. He doesn't have much game experience. So you need, for Indiana to have the kind of season we've been talking about for a couple months now, they need Michael Penix healthy. So I don't expect him to run unless there's absolutely nobody around him. You've got 2 really good running backs that they'll take care of the running for you. If you can pick up 2 or 3 yards with nobody around you, fine, but don't try to take off, be the hero and dive for the pylon or try to break a tackle or anything like that, because key number 1 for him is staying healthy, and he just hasn't been able to do that through his first 2 seasons at IU.
Absolutely. Michael Penix, speaking of him, let's hear what he's got to say heading into this ball game.
Attention.
Oh, well, it's a lot of confidence, and that just comes from, our preparation, just the hard work that we put in, just the way everybody buy in day out. Last season we had a great season last season. We didn't finish how we wanted to, but, I feel like it opened a lot of people's eyes and just let them know that, like, we're not just a team to look over. And I feel like the guys here, we look back at last year and look back at how we didn't finish. That's something that we're not like trying to let happen again this year. So I see a lot of people, playing with a chip on their shoulder, going out, performing real hard in practice, just straining to be great. So that brings us a lot of confidence, just knowing, we got people getting older. We had a young team, everybody's a year older now. Just everybody knowing what to do and just being able to go out and just execute at a high level playing fast football.
That is the key right there. Playing with a chip on their shoulder. Indiana has to undoubtedly play with a chip on their shoulder against these kind of teams. You have to feel that you're as good or better than they are, because they are. And if you don't, there's no way you're going to win, obviously. But, man, that's another thing. This team has confidence. You heard Michael Penix say it. He's a confidence guy. I saw some people talk to his former high school coach. He's a quarterback that didn't get rattled in high school. So I'm pretty sure that has continued forward, which is the absolute greatest quality you want in a quarterback. You don't want one that gets rattled. So you got a guy that's got a cannon for an arm. He's a great athlete. He has been held back by injuries. Is this the season that I almost said it, but I didn't mean to. But, Michael Penix is going to be unleashed.
Yeah, I think so too. And he's got an opportunity right from the gate to prove that he's a really good quarterback, that he's one of the top quarterbacks. He doesn't get enough attention, and that includes myself, as one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten. You look at Justin Fields, who's obviously head and shoulders above the competition, but he's right in that conversation with guys like Sean Clifford, Tanner Morgan, because he has experience. He can throw the deep ball. He knows how to get the ball to his playmakers, and he has a high completion percentage. I think last year he was around 70%. I might be a little high on that, but he has a good completion percentage. He's a smart football player, and that's what has cost Indiana some of these times. He's done mistakes, turnovers, things of that nature. Michael Penix just doesn't do that, and so I think that's what's going to help Indiana this weekend, because he's such a smart player, and you need that under center when you play a team like Penn State that's so good defensively.
We've got a minute to go, and as we close it out, asking for predictions on games like this, I'll be honest with you, is pretty stupid, because this is a toss-up. This is an absolute toss-up that can go either way, because and this is not in any other year. That wouldn't have been the case. That's how Penn State's the only in the five. Now let's hope. Nope, this is an absolute toss-up. Indiana, can they win this game? Hell yes. They can win this game 42-34. They can win it 31-28, whatever. But this is a game Penn State can win. But I am going to ask you, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I do think, just from the talent perspective, I think that Penn State is going to win the game. I think it's going to be within a touchdown. And I don't know. I really think it's just the talent differential, and maybe talent isn't the right word, but depth. Penn State has a little bit more depth than Indiana, so I do expect them to win. But I've said multiple times, I'm not going to be shocked if Indiana starts off the season 1-0. They've got the talent. They have, they have the experience coming back. They've got a chance to knock off and get a big upset.
I can't wait, man. I cannot wait for this game. Dustin, I can't thank you enough. As always, it's been a blast. Thanks to Sir Elton Hayes for joining us today. Tomorrow, Verdell Jones, Alec Lasley. We'll talk some IU basketball as well as preview this football game. But can't wait to do it, man. It's been another great day. I hope everyone goes out and has a great day. Do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.